In the latest episode of The Dig, CBSN's Elle McLogan introduces us to a chef who got his start as a teenager, and today he's telling stories through his food.
25-year-old Lucas Sin is the chef at Junzi Kitchen, a fast casual Chinese restaurant in New York City. And his side project is a series of experimental pop-up dinners where he and his team are doing some really exciting things. Credentials?
I have I'm close to no credentials. Still trying to figure out what in the world I'm doing. I opened my first restaurant in Hong Kong when I was 16. How about that?
That's pretty special.
It is. It was quite fun. It was really silly. We took ourselves way too seriously.
What possessed you when you were 16? When I was 16, I was not opening restaurants.
The question was why not, and I haven't really stopped opening restaurants or working in restaurants since. We did a couple of pop-ups in college in my dorm. You know, in noodle pop-ups, we did tasting menus, we did family style, we did Portuguese food. There was nothing else to do. It felt like on weekends, but to open restaurants. So we did so, and that sort of energy compels us today to do the chef tables that we do here at Junzi Kitchen.
Who comes to your chef tables?
People that want to know more about Chinese food.
I saw people who were Chinese, who were not Chinese. Yeah. Many of them were young when I was there, but sure. I'm sure you get all ages.
Yeah.
There's a new one each month, right?
There's a new one each month.
And each one is multi-course, extremely intricate. How do you begin the process?
Usually you come up with an idea that you believe is worth investigating. Sometimes it's a cultural idea. We've looked at food as it relates to Chinese medicine. We've looked at foods that are colored red in the Chinese canon. But vinegar is exciting.
Why is vinegar exciting? Because
vinegar has the pretty unique ability to bring out other flavors in other foods. This month we had the privilege of working with Michael Harlan-Turkel, who wrote the book Acid Trip. In my opinion, probably one of the best books on vinegar.
And you bring different chefs in each time, right?
Different chefs each time. The format is always Chinese X something else. In this case, X is vinegar. So we just see what the confluence of Chinese cuisine and vinegar is. And we start looking at examples. In this case, because it was so technique forward, we're looking at preservation, we're looking at protein coagulation.
What is something that people might find surprising about the chef's table experience?
Restaurants open for service while we do chef's table. That's what's fun.
So half the restaurant is all fast casual,
and then people, yeah, the other half are eating off of China and getting lectured to by a 25-year-old.
And how do you put together your lectures?
We read a lot, we think about it, we ask questions, we call everyone. I called about 15 different people about sweet and sour pork to get a good understanding of the frying batter. Do your research, you ask your questions, and you try to come up with a solution in the form of a dish. The flavors and the textures and the temperatures and the way you cook things need to tell a story.
Why do you find food to be the best vehicle for storytelling?
Food is the first step for understanding culture. If you can tell interesting stories about the food, people might be more interested to find out more about the culture. One of my favorite things about doing chef's table is tackling dishes like egg drop soup that you don't think about, but use specific techniques to tell a more complicated story. You might get egg drop soup, you might get like chunks of egg that add to the umami flavor of the soup, but what really the egg drop soup is meant for is for eggs to mimic the texture of the soup that's boiled down and thickened. And that egg drop itself can only be achieved if you have acidity. Nanbanzuke was a cross between a Chinese and a Japanese dish. Hard-seared blue fish sits in a snail vinegar that's been aged for 8 years, made out of snails.
Didn't have snail flavor to me, but it was delicious. What's your favorite part of the whole process?
Sometimes you serve people food and you tell them why you cook the dish in that specific way, and you get a little bit of a after and you go like, interesting.
And that's your favorite part?
Good enough.
People give you that face?
Once in a while you have people tell you that you're wrong, or tell you that there are more interesting things to think about, or they like add to that dialogue.
What do you think are some of the great misconceptions about Chinese food?
The primary understanding of Chinese food is that it's quite singular. It's always based off of sugar, MSG, cornstarch, and that everything is deep fried, stir fried.
When I was living in China, I was completely blown away by the regional cuisines and how they are so disparate that you couldn't even recognize them as Chinese if you grew up eating the Chinese food that I grew up eating. Yeah. What do you want people to walk away with?
The Chinese food is pretty interesting. Chinese food is a good starting point. Start thinking about, cross-cultural connection.
Elle, I'm so fascinated by him. What a great story.
Absolutely.
So at 16 years old, he opened his first restaurant. How was that possible? He was
16.
Was he in school still, or what was going on?
He was in school. He was in Hong Kong, where he was born and raised, and he and his friends got together and just started serving these intricate multi-course dinners. They actually found their space in the basement of an abandoned newspaper factory. They were in the cellar and like, this looks good. I'm not even sure how that worked, but they ended up coming together with all these different Hong Kong themed dishes and serving that. And he said he just, got hooked, and from then on just never stopped.
So where do these dinners pop up, and how do we know where they're held?
So these dinners, while the restaurant Junzi Kitchen has multiple locations, several in New York City and also one in New Haven, Connecticut, these dinners are all at their Morningside Heights location, which is uptown. And you can find all of those details on our website.
Is this it that we're looking at right now? Well, I like that.
Yeah.
Everything looks delicious. So let's talk a little bit about you living over there and the cuisine for you. Was it similar? Did you feel as though it was nostalgic and take you back?
Not at all. Not at all.
Really?
I got completely, my whole perspective on Chinese food and its possibilities was transformed. And that's why this story has a really particular significance for me, going to China and seeing, oh wait, there are these distinct regional cuisines that bear no resemblance to each other, that are so special and so different. And that is something that he really captures here at his dinners.
So he does. You felt as though you were transported back.
Absolutely.
By being here.
But also something new. He's doing these really exciting, weird, scientific experiments, so he will include flavors that you're used to, but always surprise you.
It was clear that it's his passion.
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about what was your favorite, because there was a lot of dishes there that looked delicious.
All of them. I had a lot of love for these buns that he made, these baked buns, but what really stood out to me was the bluefish, the seared bluefish that he cooked with the snail vinegar.
But you said you didn't taste snail, so what did it taste like?
It had this really kind of earthy, salty, almost like a wine kind of flavor, but no trace of snail that I could detect. Although I love a good escargot, so I wouldn't be opposed
to that, but you liked it just the way it was.
Exactly.
Oh, Elle, thank you. You always find the best places. I can't wait to try that out.
Thank you.